My birth sign is Libra, the scales, and I think that basically is about me. That's the kind of person I am. I think I'm fairly just, and I can make decisions by looking at both sides of an argument. I'm quite a rational, down-to-earth person, and I think that's what people see in me, which is why a lot of people come to me for advice on situations. I was once told by a friend that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had allowed it, I would have made a very good High Court judge. I was born in Afghanistan, but I came over with my parents and my brothers and sisters when I was only 2 years old, so I've basically lived all my life in the UK. My parents used to take me back for holidays every year when we were very young. The last time I went over was when I was 16, and then we had all the problems with the wars and the Russians invading, and I was unable to go back for about 30 years, but I'd always felt this tie back to my roots. Eventually, after 30 years, I was, alhamdulillah, able to go back with my husband and my children. I was devastated when I saw the ruin that had happened, because my memories of Afghanistan was this beautiful country with all greenery and big houses, and everybody was happy. So to come back after all those years and see absolute destruction everywhere was heart-rending. One day I was travelling with my husband in a car, and we passed a lot of tents along the wayside, and I asked my cousin who lives there, what were all these tents? They were UNICEF tents, and he told me that they were actual schools. There were children there studying, and I couldn't imagine that situation at all. And it was there that I made the decision that I really needed to do what I could to give back something to my own people. And I made the decision there and then that if I could open a school, that's what I would want to do. It took a long time. It took about 8 years of struggle, fighting the local, not just the local people who didn't like the thought of a woman in doing something like this, but also the local authorities who were not used to having women telling them what to do and being in a dominating position. But alhamdulillah, after 8 years, we were successful. We opened the school, and we're now running it. It's in our 5th year. And that has been an achievement which it's given me great satisfaction to know that I could have played such a small part in changing the lives of a lot of children who are desperate for education. They have this love of learning and of getting knowledge, and unfortunately it's not always available to them. So that's something which I'm proud of. It's an achievement that is there, and I have put quite a lot of myself into that work. The reason I started this project was because it was the fact that we have so much here. We take so much for granted here, and we have everything, that to actually go back there and see for myself with my own eyes that there were people living in such dreadful, dreadful circumstances who didn't even have the basic needs that we all take for granted, made me feel that I couldn't come back and close my eyes and carry on my life and pretend that I hadn't seen what I had. I'm one of 7 children. I'm bang in the middle, 3 above me and 3 below me. And I think I've always been known as sort of like Little Miss Bossy. I've always made known my thoughts and ideas and always tried to get my own way. We've had a wonderful, loving relationship throughout our family, and a very strong relationship which came from the way we were brought up. Because when we came over here, we had nobody, basically. We came to the UK in 1962, and There was no actual Afghani or Iranian community here at all. So we had just ourselves. And alhamdulillah, we have a very wonderful bond between all of us, which we've been able to carry on to our own children as well. And it's amazing when I see the way the relationship that my nieces and nephews have amongst themselves, especially nowadays when you see that so many families are estranged and there are so many problems and difficulties which tear families apart. But we've been able to keep that bond between all of us as brothers and sisters, even when we're married, with our children, with all the in-laws. It's an amazing blessing to have that, because when I look back now and think of all the problems that we did have growing up, it's not easy to live in a country where you don't speak the language and people don't understand you, and your religion is completely something that they don't know anything about. And to have come through all of that and have your relationship with your family intact is actually quite amazing, a real blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only that, but the fact that apart from my eldest brother and one of my younger sisters who recently moved away, we all live in very, very close vicinity to each other as well. So we practically see each other every day, and when we're not seeing each other, we're talking to each other over the phone. And it's the same with our children. My daughters and sons, they keep in constant contact with their cousins. They talk to each other every single day. And it's really, as I say, a real blessing. I think the one person who had the greatest influence on my life was my father. He was an amazing person, and he really taught me everything which has made me the person I am today. He came to this country, as I say, in 1962 with practically nothing. He had a wife and 5 children to look after. 2 of my sisters were born here later. But he had to support them, and he didn't know the language. He had a very, very difficult life, but he had such strength of character. He, over the years, not only taught us as a family to value ourselves as a family and family values and principles, and to also believe strongly in our religion, but he managed to build an empire for himself and his children, and he brought all of us into that empire and kept us all close together. And it wasn't only for him, it wasn't only about finances, it was also his religion. He became a very, very respected member of the community. He was loved and respected by people from all different communities as well. And the values that he taught us are what have made us myself and my brothers and sisters, the people we are today. And I think I've inherited from him also the characteristics of justness and kindness and wanting to help other people. So he really was the most influential person in my life. And sadly, he passed away 3 years ago, and I think it was something very difficult to come to terms with, to have the most important person in your life leave you. It was difficult, but alhamdulillah, we had such wonderful memories, and the things that he taught us, the principles he taught us throughout our lives have enabled us to be strong people. He taught us that we could do whatever we set out to do. Nothing was impossible. And that's a wonderful gift to have. And every day I remember him. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for being blessed with having such a wonderful person in my life. And I do believe that I've been able to be such a strong person myself because of his support and his teachings and his influence. He treated me as a confidant, and I believe because we were so similar, he was able to confide in me a lot more than he was able to confide in my other brothers and sisters. And in fact, where his business was concerned, absolutely, he trusted me in everything and left me to make a lot of the financial decisions for the company that we were in. One thing I will never forget about him is that whenever any of us had any problems at all, and we would go to him, knowing that he would be able to help us, he would always say to us that, as long as I'm alive, you have nothing to worry about. And that really was very, very true. I think through my desire to help people and the ability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with in being able to give help and advice, I started working with ABTV, must be a couple of years now, and I started hosting the Mahdi show. Through the show, I've been in contact with so many people who have had such distressing situations, and sometimes it's been quite difficult to know that there are people out there who have such terrible issues within their lives that they face, and they come to a point where they're almost hopeless, and they turn to you. They ask, they write to you or they call you and ask for your help and your advice. And again, I think that is such a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm able to do that, and that the help and advice that I'm able to give people is something that they connect with and they appreciate. Often it's not been easy. I've had to try and think of myself in that position of that person, which can be distressing at times, because, as I say, there have been situations that people have asked help from me, which I sometimes think to myself, how on earth can I help this person? How on earth can I advise them on what's the best thing to do? And also I have to be very careful, because it's very easy to give the wrong advice. And you're talking about people's lives here. It's not just something where somebody's asking you, should I buy a red dress or a pink dress? A lot of these situations are life-changing decisions that these people are making when they're contacting me. It's been an amazing time. The fact that, alhamdulillah, sometimes I think to myself, I'm sitting here in front of a camera, in front of millions of people talking, and some people out there might be thinking, oh, she's talking utter rubbish, what's she talking about? But alhamdulillah, it's been really good. I enjoy doing the shows, and I do love the fact that I am able to help people and give advice, and the feedback I've had has been incredible. I get so many people calling me, emailing me, thanking me, saying that they really appreciate the advice I've given them, and it's helped them make their decisions, which again is a feeling of satisfaction that, and as I say, a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's enabled me to be in that position. One advice that I remember quite clearly was a young girl came to me and was worried because her brother was sort of slightly off the rails. He wasn't listening to his parents, and in fact, he actually left the family for some time, which distressed everybody. And the young man had now decided to come back to the family and wanted forgiveness. And her father was being very, very stubborn about this whole thing, and she was worried, and she asked my advice what to do. And I said to her, you have to put yourself in your father's position. It must have been such a painful thing for a father to see his child go through that and to leave the family, and now to want to be able to be in a position to bring him back. You have to put yourself in your father's position and think the way he does. And a few days later, she called me and she said that it had been so incredible. She could now understand exactly the pain her father had been going through, and she was able to talk to her father, and together they managed to help her brother come back into the family fold, and he was doing so well now that she thanked me and said that without my advice, she probably would never been able to resolve that situation. And things like that really make you feel that if you are able to make a difference to somebody's life, then you really have that duty and responsibility to do it. At the moment, I'm in a very good place in my life, alhamdulillah. I think that I've managed to achieve quite a number of my goals. I have the school work that I've done in Afghanistan, which is immensely pleasing to me. I have my work with ABTV, which again has enabled me to fulfill my dream of helping people. I run a Saturday school for Afghani children where I administer the school and I also teach Islamic studies there. I have other various charity work that I'm doing. And I have my family. I have 5 wonderful children, 7 incredible grandchildren who I think, as every grandparent will tell you, are absolute joy to have, because you can actually sit back and do all the things you couldn't do with your own children, especially spoil them and not feel guilty. And I think that obviously I have other goals in life, but I'm semi-retired now. I don't think I could ever fully retire. I think my brain would probably rot if I had nothing to do. So I still look for other projects in life. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day for blessing me with the ability to be who I am and to be able to do the work that I do. And I do feel now that I'm able to look back at my life. I have regrets, obviously, as everybody has, but I think if you're able to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, it makes you a stronger person. I think, as somebody once said, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And if you're a person, like I believe I am, who is able to look back and make mistakes in life and yet learn from those mistakes and learn from those experiences in order to make your life better and improve yourself, then that is that's a good thing. So even mistakes in your life are not necessarily bad things. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day for enabling me to worship Him and be a lover and the follower of the Ahlulbayt. And I hope, inshallah, to be able to continue doing some good work in my future life. If I were sitting now and talking to somebody or talking to myself 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I think my advice would be keep strong and determined in everything you do. Make a decision and stick to it. Don't rush. Enjoy life. When you're 13 years old, don't want to be 25. When you're 20 years old, don't rush to be 30. Enjoy every part of your life, every day of your life, because believe me, it goes so fast, it goes so quickly. Right now, I look back at my life and I think, how did it all go? Where did it all go? What happened to get me to this stage that I am now? Alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for everything I have, but I would advise any young person to enjoy life as it happens. Don't wish yourself to be somewhere where you're not. Make the most of where you're at. Life often throws things at us which we sometimes tend to despair over. But I think one of the things which has allowed me to come through all the difficulties has been my faith, which again is something which is instilled in me from my father. And he was such a man of strong faith and character. He taught us all that the most important things in our lives was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlulbayt. And no matter what we did in life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlulbayt should be foremost. And we should always look to them for any decision we make. And I think that is one thing that, alhamdulillah, I've been able to carry on through my life and through the decisions I've made. And with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've been able to achieve the things that I've done.